We already have these 4 constraints with us. Now in any exam question, when you are dealing with number of units, you must add 2 non-negativity constraints. Since X is something which is tangible and it is mg's of some raw material to be consumed, it cannot be negative. It will always be greater than or is equals to 0. You can either not consume X or consume 1, 2, 3, 4 or so on, any number of kgs, any number of mg's of X. Similarly, since Y is in mg's, you will consume greater than or is equals to 0 mg's of Y. You can either not consume Y or consume 1 mg of Y or 2 mg's of Y or 3 mg's of Y, but you cannot consume -1 units or -1 mg's of Y. So the 6 constraints we have are 2 pertaining to iron, 2 pertaining to calcium, and 2 are called non-negativity constraints. We also have our objective function, and the objective function is C is equals to 6x plus 4y. According to the question's requirement, we are required to find a number of x mg's and y mg's that we should consume to make the medicines which will minimize this function. For this, we will need to draw a diagram, a graph, which will reflect all the 6 constraints, and from that graph we will find the cost minimization point. In order to do any graph, we will have to find any 2 points from which each of the constraints pass. For example, for the first constraint, we will write x plus y is equals to 5 and assume when x is equals to 0, we will calculate what will be the equivalent value of y. When x is 0, y will be 5. This will be called the first coordinate, which is 0, 5. Similarly, when y is 0, what will be x value? X will be 5. So the second coordinate will be 5, 0. To draw any line, there is a basic rule. If you have to draw any straight line, you should know 2 points. By assuming y and x is equals to 0, I know that this line will pass from 0, 5 and 5, 0. Similarly, I have found all 2 coordinates for each of the lines, and you may pause the video and calculate all these constraints, all these points of these lines. And now I will draw the line for x plus y is equals to 5. Now to draw the first line, we will move on to our graph paper. On a graph, we will plot y-axis, x-axis. We know that this is the place where x is 0 since it lies on y-axis, and we always know that at y-axis x is always 0. We also know that this will be the point which is 5, 0. Since it lies on x-axis, we always know that on x-axis y is equals to 0. Now to draw a straight line, we meet these 2 points together. This line reflects x plus y is equals to 5. Since we have to shade that area where x plus y is greater than or is equals to 5, we will shade the area above this line. Now what is feasible region? Feasible region is the region which satisfies all the inequalities, all the constraints at a single point of time, or satisfies all constraints simultaneously. For this, we will have to draw all these constraints on a single graph paper. Something to note from the question is that our question mentions that you have to draw the graph. Draw the graph is different from sketching the graph. When the question says sketch the graph, you can simply sketch a rough graph. But the word draw signifies that you have to exactly draw the same graph and plot all the constraints on a graph paper. So once you have identified 2 coordinates or 2 points for each line, you can draw them on a graph paper, and once your graph is drawn, that is, once you have plotted x plus y is equals to 5, x plus y is equals to 7, 2x plus y is equals to 8, and 2x plus y is equals to 10, your graph will look something like this. I have drawn all the lines and I have shaded certain region. This region has its own significance. This is called feasible region. In this region, all inequality conditions are satisfied. I will assume that you know basic things about feasible region and you can identify a feasible region from a set of constraints which are given in your question.